Hello and welcome to 7 Things You Need to Know About the Future of Workplace Design. We have an awesome group for you this morning. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. During this session, you can communicate with your fellow attendees using the chat window tab to the right of the screen. You can also contribute and upvote questions in the Q&A window tab. And if we have time at the end, I'll be able to ask your questions to our panelists. All right, Kay, take it away.
Thank you and good morning all. So first I want to introduce the panelists. We have myself, Kay Sargent, Director of Workplace for HOK, and then the illustrious Pam Light, the Regional Leader for Workplace in LA, and then Adriana Rojas from Florida, who is our Director of Design. And we're going to challenge, I'm going to challenge the ladies to share a little bit more about what are the 7 things that you need to know today that you might not be thinking about or you may not have heard a little bit. So let's dive into this, ladies. So first up, the 7 things that you need to know today. Let's start with number 1.
Thank you, Kay. And hello, everybody. So one lesson that we've all learned from COVID is that many of us can work remotely, right? And we're seeing now how all these companies are starting to bring back their employees and they're figuring out what it means to move, moving forward. But nobody really knows what the future holds. What we can all probably agree on is that there's a lot of opportunities, but there's also a lot of challenges. And the truth here is that we're all running on adrenaline, and we need to take a deep breath and pause, because the fact that you can do something doesn't mean you should. So we have to make sure we have the right policies in place and the right procedures, and just really, understand what and how these companies are going to move forward. There's definitely a new definition of going to work that is emerging, and the purpose of that office is shifting. So we're here to share with you some of those top things about the future workplace. This, number 1 on our list. Pam?
So Adriana, I just want to recap there. So a whole lot of our customers are talking about working from home and how incredibly successful it's been, but anybody can do anything for 12 weeks, right? And so what we're really advocating for is, if you do want to continue some remote work program, you need to systematically think about how do you sustain that. And you can't just hope that it will continue. You need to put policies and procedures in place that will truly help decide who is the right people to work from home and how they should be doing that. So that's the number 1 thing to know. Great. Pam, I'm going to throw it over to you for the number 2 thing that people need to know today.
Number 2 is looking at high touch. I don't know about you, but everybody I know is now into heightened sensitivity. I walk into my favorite restaurant for my to-go because I'm so tired of eating my own cooking, and they hand me a pen, and I actually step back and I grab a pen out of my purse and make the signature and carefully put it back in. And then if I can't put my own credit card in, I actually have them drop it into my purse. So the ability for us to now move forward and think more about hands-free, particularly apps on your phone that can help you get through into a building, up to your floor, into your space. Hopefully you have a great barista there when we finally get back to work that will take care of the coffee for you. But the ability to stay safe and still be able to go about our daily lives are going to become more and more important until we get the vaccine. But also, I think all of us now understand that this can happen. So we need to start thinking ahead for other safety pieces of tools that we should put into place for us for the future.
And Pam, this is one of those areas where we believe the architectural world and the AVIT world are going to come together finally at last, right? Because we've all been so eager about that. We believe strongly that AV is not something that should come at the end. It's something that should be baked into the beginning. And now that our clients are looking for hands-free voice activation, autonomous spaces, technology can play a major role in that. And so we really need to think about how we do that going forward. Okay, Adriana, back to you for number 3, the 3rd thing you need to know.
Well, we're in our workplace, and, we've gotten used to so many options, and everybody wants options. Everybody wants a desk that is smart, that is customized, that you can get all these integrated features into the desk. We want smart things, right? But, there's also two types of environments that you can have. You can have kind of like that luxury kind of work points, very smart, or you can have the basic. And we think, that we're on the verge of a change here, because with all this densification, we're going to have an opportunity to really up our game and just bring that luxury back in. And, technology is going to play a big role in this, because we have the ability to make those work points smarter and integrate as much technology so that people feel luxurious in their space. There's going to be a lot of restrictions that they're going to have. So let's give them that. Let's make this a big opportunity to rise and get everybody that luxury that they want.
Okay, so let me just sum up a little bit here. So if we have fewer work points in the workplace, because more people might be working from home, and so we don't want to have just tons and tons of empty desks, right? And if the workplace becomes a gathering space, right? So we have fewer work points, they can be better work points, and maybe we can adopt some of the technology we're already using in our cars, right? When you walk up to a car, you got that fob in the pocket, it knows it's you, everything adjusts to your preset preferences, everything automatically syncs. We have the ability to do that today in workplaces, but we haven't necessarily leveraged that. And so now is an opportunity for us to potentially do that. Great. I'm going to throw it over to you, Pam, for number 4 on our list of things you need to know or consider going forward.
So sensors and monitoring. As we've all been in the Internet of Things for quite a while now, what we're starting to move into now is an Internet of Experience. And the sensors and monitoring will keep us comfortable in that space, but also keep us safe. For example, air conditioning and adjustments. We want to make sure that during this year of COVID, that the air conditioning is properly balanced so we don't have wind tunnels going across and moving viruses from one person to another. We also want to have AI there. As Kay mentioned, the expansion and connection of the physical space to the IT space is really becoming more and more critical. We need to do heat mapping. We need to know if there's pinch points in our circulation that we've already set up to keep people safe. If people are congregating in areas, if there's areas that they're meeting each other and they need to be more separated, we can actually understand that more quickly now and can make immediate adjustments. So that integration will be really important in thinking of the future and how we make workplaces safer.
And Pam, I love what you said about the Internet of Things becoming the Internet experience, right? Nobody wants to be monitored. However, we all do want to be safe, and we all want to be able to leverage what's being collected to make better options and choices. And so now maybe we've kind of crossed that bridge from really monitoring us to empowering people to make better decisions based on that information that's being collected and putting the power in their hands with their apps. Fabulous. Okay, Adriana, are you ready to talk about the number 5 thing, the 5th thing that people need to know about workplace going forward?
Yeah, this is one that everybody's talking about, meeting rooms. How do we reinvent them to comply with COVID? And, really the traditional setup, what everybody's doing right now is pulling chairs out of the meeting space. And, a meeting room that used to be for 10 is now going to be for 4. But, that's really bringing more challenges because, number one, you're not going to have your meeting needs met. And number 2, you may be underutilizing your space. So maybe what we need to be doing is thinking about, questioning what really is that meeting space serving? What are you doing there? Are you ideating with your teams? Do you need a lounge space similar to that, image that you're seeing there on the screen that has just like large writable space? What are we really doing in the space to make it efficient? And this again comes back to technology. It's really, we have to up our game here because, those meeting rooms that used to be 10 people, now it's going to be 4. And where are the other people going to be, connecting to? Are they going to be in another room calling in? And what we really don't want to do is have the old traditional setup where you have this box at the end of a table and there's a voice talking and it's completely disconnected from the team. And, we forget about that person, right? And, one thing that really worked well during all this COVID is that we were all on the same plane. We were all working from home and everybody was in the same setup. So we were all engaged and in the same level. So we need to make sure that when we come back, how do we rethink these gathering spaces and how do we up our game with technology to make sure that we're giving everybody the same engagement and everybody's connected, and what are those settings doing? So technology is going to play a big role in our meeting rooms moving forward because it's a new way of connecting, and we're seeing it with all these virtual meetings.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adriana, for that. Okay, Pam, I'm going to go back to you for the sixth thing that everybody needs to know about workplace going forward.
The sixth is actually my favorite, to actually have a full-time assistant. So as we mentioned earlier, the high touch sensitivity that we have now is going to lead us to move more quickly into having technical assistance. And whether that's Alexa or Siri that you currently have in your home, the ability to have that in the office so that you can, for example, if we're joining Adriana in a meeting that she's designed so that we can all actually actively participate in, that the reminder has gone out, the information has been loaded, you can walk in the door, it automatically sets what's going on, it records it, it takes notes, and it sends a report afterwards. So the whole package doesn't have to deal with us trying to find the right button in the space to make things happen, but also the artificial intelligence allows us to be more effective as we move forward. It will be a nice plus that will come along with this change.
Lovely. And Adriana, I'm going to let you take us home with the number 7 thing that we all need to know about the workplace today. And then we're going to have a few minutes for questions and answers.
Okay. And this is one, enhanced acoustics. I mean, we haven't talked much about this. I haven't seen much discussion out there, but before COVID, everybody thought this was a big issue, right? That the spaces were too noisy. But in fact, in many cases, we thought they were too quiet. And people actually were saying that, hearing others talking was more disturbing. So again, going back to now we're going to doing disinfection of our spaces, the problem's just going to get worse. So we need to think about it because we're starting to throw all these plastic screens and removing all these acoustical fabric materials because we're concerned about the cleanability, and our spaces are going to be really impacted. So we need to really rethink about the acoustics of the space and look at options. Look at what are those options. Is it more natural sound masking? Is it leveraging the quiet zones? What's that right balance to make your space really be a good space that has, a well-balanced acoustics?
So thank you, ladies, for sharing those 7 things that you think are things that people may not be thinking about going forward, but they really need to do. And Chrissy, we're going to throw it over to you to see if we have any questions from the audience.
Yes, with so many questions, and this has been a fantastic conversation so far. Let me dive right into the first one. Do we really need to consider this change to workplace as a new standard for the future?
So I'm going to say that we believe that there were a whole lot of things that were on the cusp of changing even before COVID-19. And what we look at COVID-19 as doing, it's a catalyst for one of 2 things. It's either going to make people panic and they're going to revert back to 1970s and throw up plastic shields and panels and isolate people, or we're going to take a moment and pause, take a breath, and we're going to move forward. And if all we do is address the immediate COVID things about maybe reduced touch points and increased sanitation and maybe de-densification, I think those are the things most people feel are going to be the lasting implications of this. If that's all we do from this time that we've been asked, then this will be an opportunity missed. There's a whole lot of changes on the horizon that we need to embrace going forward. And to what degree we do that, I think is the question.
Fantastic. Secondly, how can the AV community better engage with clients and your architectural peers who aren't yet thinking this way during their conceptual design phase for projects?
Good question.
We're kind of famous for saying we think more architects and designers should be attending InfoComm, and we think more AV and IT people should be attending CoreNet and IFMA, where the designers are. I mean, we're living in parallel worlds, and those 2 paths need to collide and come together. In a lot of cases, designers and architects aren't controlling the AV and the IT. That's up to the clients. And so we all need to be able to tell the clients and or the PMs or whoever are making those decisions, we have to have everybody at the table day one. That's how we create truly immersive environments, not just applications.
Fantastic. We have about 30 seconds left, so I'm not sure if we should ask the next one, but how do we balance the efficiency of this voice in terms of voice with accessibility for people with hearing impairment?
Um, Yeah, so I think, Pam and Adriana, I don't know if we want to jump in on this one too, but there's a lot of visual clues that we can do. And we actually believe that intuitive wayfinding is really critical. And we could show you tons and tons of examples about how we can help people navigate through space, either by lighting, by color, by making memorable moments, and even just visual cues. So I think whenever it comes to hearing impaired, we really try to look for how do we create intuitive spaces with visual clues to help people navigate and get through the spaces.
Yeah, and Christy, I think this is where the apps come in handy too,
Sure.
because the information can come across on someone's app if they're hearing impaired, so they can actually see the information. So it makes everybody on a more equal footing.
Understandable. Okay. Alexa and Siri pose significant IT security issues. What are our thoughts?
Well, ladies, do you have Alexa or Siri's in your house? I don't. So I'm probably the wrong person to answer this question, because I would agree with that. I don't have that. However, I do believe that we have the technology today to be able to sense presence and then automatically pull information up. Okay, so I just want you to think about this. We all schedule and book a room. There's no mystery about who's going to be in a room at any given time. And you can clearly put what the material is that you're going to be talking about and who's going to do that. So if we can have a technology assistant send notices, don't forget your meeting is coming up, pulling up the information and loading it, recording some of the sessions and sending it out. I think, we're a little bit in the Wild West right now. And so there are some IT security issues, but hopefully that will get better and better over time. And I think it's just the natural course of things to come. But a little leery.
Yeah, I don't have it at home either, Kay.
I have mine off.
I know several of my friends on the Alexa board literally have like 8, 9, 10 of them in their houses. Yeah. And I'm just perplexed by that, right? That just kind of amazes me. But I think it's the reality that is coming, and hopefully the technology is getting better and better and more intuitive.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Beyond the meeting room, how do we create virtual spaces? There's a serendipity in coming across someone in transit between a meeting room, one's desk, the coffee machine. In the virtual world, we lose that. A video chat is an isolated node with no connections to other spaces.
Right.
Yeah. So, Adrienne, I'm going to throw this to you, and I'll take the first part and let you do it, because you're creating some of the most amazing environments that are blending that today. We do not believe that virtual connectivity is a substitution for being in person. 55% of communication is nonverbal. It's visual clues, it's body language, and it's also understanding the other individual. And if you don't know the person, it's harder to connect with them virtually, because you don't understand their body language, or you don't know whether they're serious or joking or any of those things. So we truly believe in the power of place. And we truly believe that when we go back, we need to create environments where we are seamlessly making what's happening right now happen. I mean, right now, we are all on an equal playing field. Everybody is working from home, so everybody is equal. When certain people go back in the office, that equality is going to come out of balance. So, Adriana, do you want to talk about some of the amazing environments that you guys have been creating for some of the clients and how you're bridging that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that the other thing, Kay, and you mentioned it, the human connection, it's not going to be replaced. And we know there will be a big transition period where, yes, we're going to have to limit, our meeting space. But we have to make sure when we design these spaces, if we have to pull a traditional table out and create a very engaged space and keep a distance, what we need to make sure is we have enough screens and we have enough interactions and technical tools to be able to feel that we're all there. And we've done this. I mean, we're seeing it now with all this technology and the Zoom meetings and all these type of virtual, hubs and connections. We've been able to have virtual happy hours. We've been able to have all sorts of types of meetings. But the biggest thing to me is make sure that everybody feels they're part of the meeting through that technology. So when we create spaces, we think about where are we going to locate the monitor? Where are we going to sit here? Who's going to be sitting here? But again, we've asked a lot of questions before. What are you doing in this space? Are you really just ideating? Are you doing consensus type meeting? We're asking a lot to make sure that we give them the right setup. And, that's just an engagement part of our process, going through all those questions and again, integrating IT from the beginning so that we can also give those solutions to the client when we're designing those meeting spaces.
Great.
I hate to cut the conversation, but we do have to end for today. And thank you very much for being here, ladies. And I look forward to the
Thank
next
you for
session.
having us, and happy
Thank you.
InfoComm virtual.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.